Hey, what is going on, crowdfunding fans? It's the brain of the mainframe, Nile Scala here, with episode 29, An Impossible Journey with a Great Man. Mr. Billy Tucci, how we doing tonight?
I give me a second. I got to turn off my the video on because
We've just been Tucci'd, and we're only in our first 30 seconds.
I never do this. You know that. Hang on. I gotta find it.
I know, buddy.
Mr. Billy Tucci, how we doing tonight?
I gotta find it. I gotta turn all this There it is.
This is fantastic. How is everyone doing tonight? We've seen some familiar faces. TJ James, Lee Ditzworth, Victor, Christina Lynn, how are you? Enrique Ruiz, how we doing tonight, everyone? We're so happy to have you guys, and we have a great guest tonight. Billy, my friend, what you working on, pal? Looks like you're hard at work at the table.
Yes, I'm going to be at the table, my friend, I believe, for the next week or so at least, until I can get to the writing table. But anyway, no, it's just with San Diego coming, with deadlines approaching, I am glued to the art table. And but what are you going to do? That's the industry we've chosen. But anyway, welcome our crowdfunding centurions and crusaders all across the world. And tonight we are super excited to be punching our way to our 29th episode.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight's guest is a writer and an inker, and that flew his way to working with DC Comics, swung over to Marvel Comics, bucked the Bronco over to Dark Horse Comics. Now,
bucked the Bronco.
So let's set on our spandex.
Oh, Frank, amazing.
Goggles and make nonsensical words as we punch and kick away tonight's guest, Mr. Karl Kesel.
Carl, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're swell, my friend. We're doing awesome, and we're so happy to have you on the show.
I apologize, Carl, for my little my little thing there. What are you gonna do?
I'm not a wounded llama like Ron Randall was.
Yes.
Yeah, he is not a wounded. You're a Bronco. Zinger. And that is all scripted by Mr. Frank Amazing, our lovely producer.
Well, Carl, we have to tell you that we get inundated with requests, and every day, which is great, and we're getting more and more people on, but there are a few people that we actually pursue, and unfortunately, you were one of them. People like
you wore me down,
you were like the great lion, the king of the jungle that we wanted, because we're just both huge fans of yours, and so far, well done. With Impossible Jones right now, that you cross over the $31,000 mark, I believe.
Yep.
And I believe, right? And are we? Let's see.
You're at 33,000.
33,000. Oh boy,
429. 746 backers. 6 days to go.
And we have 6 days to go. So let's go and let's keep moving with that. But first of all, thank you so much for coming on with us, Carl. I'm looking at. I got the camera here, I got the TV here, and I got my art table here. So I'm not distracted whatsoever. But we've got a ton of things to do, but anyway, could you, for the people out there now, we know that you've studied at the University of Hartford. The University of Art, the University of Hartford Art School, and you came.
Gotcha.
You made your way from upstate New York, and maybe if you don't mind. For those of you that might not know who you are or may not be familiar with you, because we have a lot of young viewers, people that are just getting into comics themselves and wanting to crowdfund their projects, could you give us a little background on yourself and how you came from upstate New York and made your way to Hartford to all the way to DC Comics and the tales of the Legion of Superheroes?
To rocking it out in NYC.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, from very early age, I wanted to draw comics. I really did, from about 10 years old on, and that's really what I focused on. And the one thing you missed in there was I actually went from high school to the Joe Kubert School.
Oh, you did?
I was at the Kubert School for 1 year. I would have been in the same class as Ron Randall, as Jan Duursema, as Tom Mandrake, as John Tottleman. But I got down there and I met people like Jan Duursema and Tom Mandrake and John Tottleman, and they were really good. And it really put the fear in me that, I basically was convinced I did not have what it took to be a cartoonist. And so after 1 year at the Kubert School, I transferred over to the University of Hartford Art School. And basically I was there for, a year or two, and all I did was draw cartoons. All I did was draw comics. And I said, this is where my heart is. This is where I have to go. And so I got done with school there, early 80s. I moved down to New York City, got a production job, and spent my evenings and weekends doing samples, inking samples, because I actually had a roommate in college. When I was drawing one time, he said, Carl, I really like your ink line a lot. And I thought, that might be my way in, And so that's really what I focused on, was inking. And dropped off samples once I moved down to New York. And one day I got a call from Sal Almondola, who was running the New Talent Showcase for DC Comics. And he got my foot in the door. And I started inking stuff for him, which led to me being offered a job inking my first monthly gig, which was Tales of the Legion of Superheroes. First over Terry Shoemaker for 6 issues, and then some young Turk named Dan Jurgens for 6 issues. And that's how I started.
So, Carl, if I may jump in here, how did you get your samples to them? Did you go to you walk up to the Marvel offices and you had a sample pack with you, or was there any sort of submission thing? Or
yeah, I mean, I would make 11 by 17 Xerox copies of the pages, and I'd put them in a manila envelope with my information. I'd drop them off at the receptionist. I wasn't getting past the receptionist at that point. Mm-hmm. And I would address them to different editors, Denny O'Neil or Al Milgram or whatever editor I hadn't hit up yet. And the first person to get back to me was Sal Almondola.
Wow. And then you got the call, right? I mean, forgive me, this is like every cartoonist dream, So
yeah,
so you got the call then, and now you were living in Manhattan, or were you living in
but Manhattan? No, never.
Yeah.
I was living in Astoria, Queens, at the end of, at the time, the 7 line. They keep moving the lines around, but it was the very last stop on the 7 line. I could walk to LaGuardia Airport from my apartment.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, tell me about it. So no, I never lived, even when, I was working regularly, I never could afford Manhattan. I lived in Prospect Park area for a while. I lived in Westchester for a while, never Manhattan.
So we're going to talk about Impossible Jones, of course, but I know that there are a lot of people that want to know about you, and same with me and all is how did you end up inking over George Perez and John Byrne? How did that come about?
Well, someone up there liked me is what it comes down to. I mean, Dick Giordano one day, he takes me aside and he goes, "Well, we got this project, History of the DC Universe, and we thought maybe you'd be a good fit for it." And I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
And it was, I will admit, it was like being thrown into the deep end, but in a very good way. I mean, working with George was a joy, and I'm a little foggy on which came first, but I'm pretty sure that came first, and then the Legends project with John Byrne came up, and all of this was more or less dumped in my lap at the same time, and it was a very exciting time, I would have to say, very exciting to work with really two of my idols. Just years before, these were the people I scrambled to get every comic they were working on. Yeah. I was scrambling to get X-Men. I was scrambling to get Fantastic Four. I was scrambling to get Teen Titans, and now all of a sudden, I was working with them. That was like almost impossible to believe. There's a word I'll use: impossible to believe.
And it's so funny because I've met John Byrne. You hear stories about John Byrne, but he's always been nothing but wonderful to me. But George is just a sweetheart, and he's so cool.
Yeah.
He really is, and I could just see George like, oh well, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun on this, and you're like, oh my God, I'm working with George Perez, right?
Yeah, no, it was very, both of them. I mean, I will have to say, inking George was great, but I loved inking John. His pencils were so gorgeous, and yeah, I loved inking John.
Now, how was it working with John, if you don't mind me asking? Was he, was he kind to you? You just hear these stories.
Well, I mean, we unfortunately did not part on the best of terms. He was not happy specifically with how I was handling his faces of Superman, and we eventually decided it would be best if I parted. I tried to be as faithful as I could be. So that's all I can say.
And he's John Byrne, though, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was going to stay on Superman, not me, and I understand that. That's, I understand how that works. I still, to this day, he's still one of the favorite people I've ever inked.
Yeah, Maestro for sure. Now,
Well,
if
hopefully
I
he's out there listening.
yes,
Every union will be restored.
yes.
So
Nope.
now so you got into the industry inking. What is your favorite? Have you adapted to pens? Are you using, traditional ink brushes? I mean, what is your style of inking?
I'm analog all the way. I'm a brush man. I use a Winsor Newton Series 7. Used to be a number 3, but now, I don't know, maybe because I'm older, I'm using a number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a huge fan of Milton Caniff. He's one of my comics idols. And, Caniff was a brush man. And I love that lush line that a brush gives something. I love the textures you can get with it. I use a little crow quill here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't use a crow quill. I use a 109, I believe. It's a very flexible nib. I bought like a million nibs back in the 80s, and I haven't gone through them. So I forget what number they are. I'm a dip my pen or my nib right in the inkwell and ink sort of guy on the paper. I've never inked digitally, and I have no interest to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, I prefer the old traditional methods myself. Antoine Dennison replies, Carl, your inks were a crisp, refreshing change on that work. I remember those Legends books, the Legion, Legends books. The Legion of Superheroes characters were amazing. You definitely got a lot of fans out there who love your inking work. And you've worked with George Perez, John Byrne, and I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, you worked with Rob Liefeld on a Hawk and Dove miniseries.
Yeah, Hawk and Dove was Rob's intro to the whole comic world. That was his first. I'm not sure it was his first professional job, but it was certainly his first extended professional job. From there, I don't know whatever happened to him after that. Yeah, I just don't know.
Now, did you
one shot wonder? I'd say.
Yeah. He's probably selling shoes.
Pay less.
Rob is a really fun guy, really great guy, and quite honestly, recently he connected back with me and with Barbara because he was basically fighting for our rights to have equity in the Dove character, and as far as I'm concerned, he's a very great guy.
Yeah, he's always been wonderful to me. I know some people get a bad rap, but I guess if you do get such notoriety or such success, people, you're always going to have people out there hating and toxicity and things.
They look for the worst in you. They got to have to have something against you. And unfortunately, sometimes they throw so much out there that sometimes people act on them. And I guess you get beaten down and you can take on a persona. But from what I've heard of them, and some of these other guys, they really aren't that bad. So
yeah, and I have to say, there's no one. I have not hung with Rob in many years, but there's no one that has more infectious enthusiasm than he does.
Yeah.
So no, he's always. I got nothing but good things to say about Rob.
Yeah, and Wayne Hall says Carl is always a great interview.
Hello, Wayne. He's a great guy.
And then, actually, we got a couple. So I'm trying to do more effort in catching up on some questions as they come through, so people get a little more. And Christina Lynn asked, Carl, what do you think about Teen Titans Go?
I saw the movie Teen Titans Go to the Movies, which I thought was hilarious. I thought it was great. I have not seen the TV series, right? I haven't seen that.
I believe so, yeah.
But I could say the Teen Titans Go movie was really great.
And I think it did really well, too, on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it scored high. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then,
my son loves it. My 13-year-old loves it. He watches it every day, the Teen Titans. The show, that is. So, Carl, how did you get it? You broke it as an inker. You started working with some of the biggest names. How did you end up writing? Did you make a pitch? What did you, how did that go about, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I think from the very beginning, I always wanted to do more than just ink. I really do think I'm a cartoonist, not just an inker, not just a writer. I think I'm a cartoonist. And once again, I point to Kniff, who, he was the package. He really did it all, and I think I've always aspired to that, at least. And from the very beginning, when I was inking when I was inking Tales of the Legion of Superheroes, inking Terry Shoemaker. And after 6 issues, Terry wanted to move on to something else. And I loved working with Terry, and I really thought, oh, well, I'll pitch an idea that we can do together. And I pitched this idea. Terry Shoemaker liked cars. He really wanted to do something with cars. And so I pitched an idea that involved a superpowered car, basically, and that went nowhere. But once again, from that early on, I was actually looking to expand beyond inking. And I recently, quite honestly, ran across that pitch in one of my boxes in my attic. And when I just read the description of the main character and his personality, it was almost beat for beat what Superboy became later on.
Oh,
so
nice.
That sort of character was in my head for a while, is all I'm saying. And, and then, I kept inking. When I was inking John on Superman, we would talk on the phone, and I would say, hey, I got this crazy idea. And, mostly John would say, that's a really good idea, Carl. Thanks for telling. But every so often, John would go, oh, I like that. And he would, these were not story ideas by any means. These were what John would call bits, just little things to pepper in the story to give it maybe a little more texture. And so that was always really thrilling. And similarly, when I was inking Suicide Squad, I would send John Ostrander these long handwritten notes, 5, 10, 15 pages long on yellow legal pad going, oh, and we could do this with Captain Boomerang, and we could do this, and John was very patient with me. And every so often he'd put some of my ideas in the book, and he would do them much better than I ever would. But just once again, showing that my mind was working beyond just the inking. I was thinking of the story. I was thinking of the whole package. And, somewhere in there, my first wife, Barbara, and I decided, I think at Mike Carlin's encouragement, we decided to pitch Hawk and Dove, because when I was inking the history of the DC Universe, I was inking the double-page spread that was the Crisis double-page spread, and there was a little sidebar of all of the heroes who had died, and I was inking Dove, and I was going, Dove should have been a Goyle. It's this light blue outfit named Dove. It's a very and I thought, yeah, Hawk and Dove should have been a boy and a girl, not two guys. And, that's where the Hawk and Dove idea came, and my first chance to write or co-write something with Barbara. Yeah. And that opened that door little by little, crack by crack.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what that's the persona they took for the live action series.
Yeah, well, it's female. Yeah. It seems like she's stuck, and that's very very satisfying, very very gratifying when you contribute something like that and it has legs,
Yeah.
It really works better. I mean, and you're 100% right, and thank God you did pick that, because of the character is just, as opposed to him saying, "Oh no, let's talk about." Remember when he was dubbed the male character?
Yeah.
Hawk is real, I don't know, aggressive alpha male type, and then Dove is like, well, now let's, the more cerebral. It kind of gets tiring after you can only do that so much. But if you have a whole female point of view, it adds a whole nother dimension to it, obviously, and makes the character more human, if you will. It makes the duo far more interesting, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, and just the whole Hawk and Dove thing. I mean, it kind of, in the name, I think it even just helps the persona. And it actually was recently. And I hate to admit this, it was recently, because I wasn't a huge Hawk and Dove fan right away. And then, it was the live-action Teen Titans, or Titans, I should say, on, the DC Universe app. And I was watching that, and I was like, wow, I really did. Like, I like the design of the characters and stuff. So, of course, I'm watching, I Google it, and then I start learning more and more. And then all of a sudden, I'm like really getting into this. I'm like, call up my buddy Rich, owns a local comic shop here. Hey, do you got any of these books, back issues? And he sends me some. And but then I'm like going through, and there was a Batman series, was it the Brave and the Bold series, and they had Hawk and Dove, and I'm looking at an image, I'm like, wait, why is it two guys? And then I dug in a little deeper, because all of a sudden it reminded me of one of those like SNL cartoon skits at first. I was like, wait, is this real? And then I got into the whole thing, but yeah, definitely prefer a female Dove. Yeah,
and the other thing we did with Hawk and Dove was, instead of them being about war and peace and like conscientious objection and not, we made them about order and chaos, which gives a Dove character a lot more to do if she's about order, and Hank the Hawk character is all about chaos. It just it's a lot more energetic way to present the characters.
Yeah, no, definitely. definitely. And then, so then you've worked with Tom Grummett on the modern Superboy series.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Tom and I came up with the Con-El, the 1990s version of Superboy, who was having a moment in the spotlight again, it seems. So that's very gratifying, also.
Yes, it is. And then of course, and I, if I'm also correct, and it's kind of a style of writing you've done, is your Harley Quinn series.
Yeah.
You had mentioned something I read, even like the Impossible Jones is, if you're a fan of that, then you'd be a fan of Impossible Jones in your style of writing.
I would like to think. Yeah. A huge reason I came up with Impossible Jones was because I missed writing Harley Quinn. And while I could sit here and tell you how the characters are very different, I think there's a similar energy level to the two characters, and a certain whimsy might be the wrong word, but they're spunky characters. They're fun characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I would like to think, if you liked what I did on Harley Quinn when Terry Dodson was drawing that book, her first monthly series, if you like that, I think you're going to like Impossible Jones. I think there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah. And how did you approach her? Because before you did that, she was still the mad love, Harley Quinn, kind of just crazy nutty. Right. Did you go in like, listen, I had this idea, for her to make her more dimensional, and how did you approach them about Harley Quinn? Well, for that series, she was pretty much the same character for since what, 92 or 93 or something.
Yeah, and I mean, the only big change, I have to say, I was visiting DC. Matt Idelson took me aside and he goes, "Look, we're thinking of giving Harley Quinn. We want to give Harley Quinn her own monthly series. Would you like to pitch for it?" And I said, "Yeah," because I thought Mad Love was, excuse me, I thought Mad Love was one of the best comics of the decade. I thought it was so well done, and the Harley character clearly was a force of nature.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I thought about it for a while, and I tell you, the first line in my pitch that I sent DC was, "There's nothing in Harley Quinn that needs to be fixed." I mean, I thought she was really good the way she was, and the only thing we really had to do was move her away from the Joker, because the Joker is, as much as Harley is a force of nature, Joker is 10 times that. He is an overpowering character. When he walks into a room, it's all you look at, really.
Yeah.
And and to make her own character, we had to move her away from the Joker. But beyond that, fleshing her out came bit by bit as, you try to figure out, okay, without the Joker, who is she? How does she interact with the world? What sort of person people hang around her? I like the idea that we would, see how one of these, Gotham villains get their henchmen. And whereas most stories with villains start with them, escaping a prison, and at the end of it, they get sent back to prison. I saw this as almost the other way around, no, this is confused now. I'm confused. I mean, we would actually see them escape the prison, and we'd follow them until they're sent back, as opposed to the hero sending them off to prison, and that's the end of the story. So, anyways. But I really enjoyed working with Harley. She was, she still is such a great character. So, and obviously she's still very popular.
Very popular.
And again, great, wonderful moving her away from the Joker, not just from stepping out of his shadow, if you will, but that toxicity, that he has, and it doesn't make for, I mean, there's the fun gags and all, but it's kind of like, oh my God, this is a really masochistic type of a relationship.
Yeah, well, I would tell you one story, and quite honestly, this is the story that justifies my entire career in comics. Is I was at a show here in Portland, Oregon, and a gal came up to me, and she was dressed in a Harley costume, and it was the classic Harley Quinn Harley costume. And it was a really nice job. She'd done a really great job. And so we're talking, and she goes, I was reading your Harley Quinn books, and I knew that Harley's relationship with the Joker was not a healthy one.
Oh.
And then I realized my relationship with my boyfriend wasn't a healthy one. And she goes, I got out of that relationship because I was reading your comics.
Oh.
And, I don't know how unhealthy it was. She didn't go into detail. But as far as I was concerned, that justified my whole existence as a cartoonist.
Wow, what
Yeah,
a
that's deep. That is great.
Yeah, I mean,
That's gotta be an incredible.
she couldn't see it in her own life at first, but she saw it in Harley's, and then saw herself reflected there. To what degree, I don't know.
And can you see her sitting there? Maybe she's on the couch reading and he's playing a video game, or he's sleeping and she's reading and just looking up at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And seeing her own life reflected in these pages. Yeah. And then to come to you, right? I mean, golly, there's nothing better than that, huh? For you. And then for her, too, that she got out of that. I mean, so just incredible. Now, if I may, Nile, Karl, a lot of times we try to go, the goal was to go 45 minutes. We always go over. Last night we went with Ron an hour and a half.
I noticed.
Nile and I keep talking. We have a lot of fun. We usually do the first half hour to talk about you, your career, about yourself and all, and then we go into the crowdfunding campaign. And so when you have to go, you just let us know. Okay, so you're like, guys, I gotta.
Okay, no, this is fine. I mean, at some point I might have to start helping get the kids ready for bed.
Great.
But,
well,
I have to rush and do that before I get down into here.
They're a much later time zone than me.
Yeah.
So another thing that I love is that the Fantastic Four story that you wrote about Ben Grimm, The Thing, and how you revealed that he was Jewish, actually. How did that come about? Was that when Stan and Jack created him? Did they originally consider him that? I mean, was it...
Well, this is what it comes down to. Is Tom Brevoort asked me to do a few fill-in issues of Fantastic Four between teams, but he said, of course, I don't want him to read like fill-in issues. I want him to be, stories that have weight. And, so I said, well, Jack Kirby had this drawing of the Thing, in a yarmulke and a prayer shawl. And I said, what if we, revealed that Ben is Jewish? I mean, Benjamin Grimm, that could be a Jewish name easily. And I have no doubt that Stan and Jack never thought Ben is Jewish. I'm sure that they never thought that. But I do think that as Jack, very specifically Jack, and this is my feeling, obviously, I can't prove it, but I get the impression that as Jack worked on the Thing, he put more and more of himself into the character. He gave him, the Lower East Side background. I think a lot of Jack's attitude was reflected in the Thing's attitude. So, since Jack was Jewish, it seemed that it was not unlikely that Ben was Jewish too. And once again, I was just looking at the pieces that were out there, and I said, "Oh, there's that Jack Kirby drawing of Ben in the yarmulke and prayer shawl. Why don't we make that part of the story of Ben?"
And they were like, "Okay, that sounds like a great idea."
Yeah, Tom was all, and got him on NPR, and he got a lot of press. So, but yeah, I mean, Stan was even quoted at the time. The NPR interviewed Stan, and Stan said, "No, we never thought he was Jewish." So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, did you ever meet Jack?
Only very briefly at San Diego once, and I shook his hand, and I told him that I thought I was going to be working on a Challengers of the Unknown project, and he said, "Do them your own way." That's what he said. But I'm sure he said that a million times to a million characters.
Stop copying me. No.
So, but that was the only time I've ever met Jack.
And have you met Stan?
I met him once again very briefly at a show in Florida in 2000. Only enough to say hello.
Understood. So, and now also in your career, I mean, you've been nominated for Eisner, a couple Eisner Award for the best inker in 91, 92, best cover in 92.
I did not realize they'd been nominated back then. I honestly did not know that.
Yeah, you were nominated for it.
Okay.
And then that's what it said.
Oh well, I believe you. I have no memory of that.
Really, that's hilarious.
Frank Amazing does not make any mistakes.
He does not. He's big time producer in New York, and he doesn't show his face because everyone knows who he is.
Right, and he can't be moonlighting for us.
No.
All right.
It's a guilty pleasure. And then in 2016, you were nominated for Inkwell Awards for Favorite Inker?
I guess so. Yeah, that I do have memory of. Yes.
That one you do have a memory of. All right. And if you don't mind me asking, what piece was it that, or what accumulation of pieces led to that nomination?
Now I'm not sure.
I'm gonna make it work.
2016. Would that have been over Leonard Kirk on a Fantastic Four? Maybe. Things blur in my mind sometimes. 2016.
We'll have to get the Inkwell committee on.
What was that?
We'll have to get the Inkwell committee on.
Yeah. But that 2016, that probably was when I was doing my run on Fantastic Four over Leonard Kirk.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing.
Okay. All right. And then, so you've worked for DC, you've worked for Marvel. If you can, I mean, where was your? Who did you prefer better? Who did you enjoy working for?
Well, I mean, I've always been a Marvel fan from very young. Mm-hmm. I've always preferred the Marvel characters, but I will say if I had to choose one company or the other that felt more like a family to me, it would have been the DC group. I knew the DC editors and production people and freelancers much better than I ever got to know the Marvel side of things. Yeah. So and it's very different now. I mean, obviously the editors I worked with are almost all gone from DC and at Marvel. At the time at DC you could go up. They had a couch that you could hang out at. And Fridays the place was full of freelancers, and you'd go see movies, and it was really great. And even in my time at DC, I saw them start to clamp down on that, where you had to wait in the waiting room for an editor to bring you in, and it just became a lot more business. It became a lot more business oriented, I guess. Which I guess you have to do when you're running a business. But a lot of the family feel that I associate with DC from the 80s and 90s, I don't think it's at either company anymore.
No. And I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, there's so many, if you read any of the comic news, this and that, there's so much going around. I mean, what are your thoughts on the state of the industry right now?
I have to say I don't know what the state of the industry is. I know Jim Valentino told me a little while ago it's going through another slump.
Yeah.
Because I mean, all I've been focused on for the last 3 years is trying to make a living at this Kickstarting comics thing, which is really a full-time job. So that's where my focus is, and I'm getting to know that community. I would like to think comics is it's cyclical, and if we're in a slump now, it'll come out because that's how it's always been in the past.
Yeah, I think. I mean, my belief, honestly, I think, and I think you're on the right path. I think a lot of people are looking more towards the Kickstarters and the Indiegogos and the talent out there, and they're getting some really great product. I mean, a lot of guys are producing a lot of good stuff. And in my eyes, I think we're on the forefront of the future of comics and even distribution. It's now becoming
distribution's changing because of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Yeah, exactly.
And I think we're at a good point right now, and we're actually at the top of our first half hour. I would love to get into now starting about your active Kickstarter for Impossible Jones, Grin and Gritty, a graphic novel. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to play the video for everyone watching.
Oh, please. Is there no music?
You can't hear the music, they can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using my powers for good. Not evil. Mostly.
Hi, I'm Karl Kesel. Thanks for checking out this Kickstarter. Impossible Jones is a thief who gets powers and then is mistaken for a superhero and then decides to run with it. Why not? Comes with some great perks.
Yeah, that's right. I am a superhero.
It's Harley Quinn meets Plastic Man in the Marvel Universe. Kinda. It's fast-paced, fun, frenetic, and beautifully drawn by my partner in crime, David Hahn. If you like Harley Quinn, especially my writing on the first Harley Quinn monthly series, I think you're going to like Impossible Jones. She's impulsive, unpredictable, energetic, But you know, I think she's smarter than Harley. I first thought of Impossible Jones as a comic book. That's my training, after all. And I even tried to kickstart it that way. But I pulled the plug because, you know what? Impossible Jones is a graphic novel. It always was, always should have been. And that's what I'm kickstarting now. And not just any graphic novel. This is an ultra-cool collector's edition graphic novel. Hardcover, oversized, pin-ups, behind-the-scene scenes. Hardcover, oversized, pin-ups, behind-the-scenes stuff. Everything you could want. And that's what's important. This doesn't happen without you. Without your support. Only you can make Impossible Jones possible. And making the impossible possible, well, that's what comics is all about.
I'm just trying to get by. Is that a crime?
Thanks for supporting my dad's Kickstarter. Period.
Don't listen to her.
Oh, that's great. So I have to ask. So
That's
we
a
learned.
fantastic video. Fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Before I jump back into the Kickstarter, so last night talking around, we came across a website that does voiceovers, or you can do that now. Who's the female voice in your video?
Caitlin Reynolds. She's Barry Kitson's girlfriend.
Yeah, Caitlin. Yeah, his fiance actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, fiance. I should have known that. Yeah.
They just got engaged.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I met her last year in Baltimore, and that was when I was putting together the first Impossible Jones Kickstarter, and I said, "How would you like to be the voice of Impossible Jones?" I just thought she had a good sound.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And a great comment came up here from Antoine again, Antoine Dennison. It's great to have you as a part of this crowdfunding arena, Karl. The presence of pros like yourself keep the bar high. That's a great compliment right there.
Well, you know what I find about it, if I may, is we ask, what could save comics I think this is what will save comics. I think creators taking, and I have a self-publishing history. That's how I got in. Nobody would hire me, so I said, the hell with it, I'll do my own book. So I've always been an advocate for this, and that's kind of why I started the show with Nile when Nile and I were talking, because I got so excited about the possibilities of going directly to the fans and and basically putting your creativity out there on the line, and having them buy directly from you. And it's such a great human interaction between the comic book creator and the fan. There is no publisher, there is no distributor, there is no store in between. And I just love it. And I think that sets up a great template for when we do go through the distributor, and then through a publisher, unless we become the publisher, that goes through the distributor, then that goes to the store, because the fans are the ones that can request that book, as opposed to, say, a retailer taking a chance, or even so, you could send that retailer either a PDF file on the book or your existing copies of the physical copies of the book, because they've already been funded, they've already been done, and then we can give them, as self-publishers, as independent publishers, you can even give them guaranteed ship dates, because we know how many times, retailers get burned. Unfortunately, when someone says a book is coming out in May and then doesn't come out until a year later.
Right.
You got to allocate those funds towards that book to begin with and take away from maybe something else. And I love the idea that when we do start, I'm going to do this next year, and we start going back to Diamond, is that I'm going to be offering guaranteed ship dates. So those retailers know that those books will be in their stores on that date. And I'm going to make them returnable even.
Wow, really? Wow.
Nice.
If they don't hit that date, I'm going to make them returnable. And it's all I think is us giving back to the fans that started with something like this, Karl, with us just talking. And I love this too, because it's almost like an idea, we're hanging out.
It's like a sandbox.
Yeah. But the fans are in on our conversations, sort of like the ones that we've had, at shows in the after hours, when you're sitting there with Barry Kitson, or Caitlin, or I'm sitting there with Jimmy or Ron Randall or someone like that. And we just start talking, and it gives an open window to the fans, to the ones that literally have changed our lives, and and put food on our table to be a part of it. And I just think that this is, I don't know, I think we're the ones, when we say how to save the industry and it's cyclical, I think we're the answer to it. And it's not just we are, you and me and Nile, but it's everyone watching.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the industry as it is.
This is a personal process now. Like this whole crowdfunding thing. I mean, this is creator direct to fans. You know, and it's getting the product direct from the creator. And with all these new outlets, I mean, the creator's an accessible a component, a personal component now. You know, if a fan has a question, more than not, they can actually just go directly to the creator and get answers.
Yeah,
or this and that.
I answer all my questions.
You know, you get direct updates, and you know what's great too is sometimes, and I've seen it, some of these fans become friends, and then next thing you know, you kind of build this friendship marketing team. I mean, everyone's just out. Oh, you've launched, great, and they start sharing and sharing and sharing, and that's one thing I've really started preaching. A lot of guys like, oh, I wish I could support this campaign. You know, I wish I had funds for this, and you know, we all have ups and downs with funds. You can't support absolutely everything, but there is one thing you can do, and that's just share it. Just share the product.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I try to really stress it. I always say, you know, you know people I don't know, but the people you know like the things you like, and if you like this comic, maybe they will too. And you know, the sharing and the spreading of the word. You know, I mean, the important part of crowdfunding is crowd. You know.
Yep.
So no, I think the sharing, people don't understand, I think, yet how important the sharing is.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's why the feature's there to tag. You know, if you're a fan of you know, Karl's, tag him in that share. Let him know what you're doing. You know, creators, you know, Billy, myself, the other guys out there, you know, everyone takes notice when they get tagged. You know, it's like, hey, I like this person.
Yeah.
You know, hey, you know what? And you build this great relationship, and then you know it's an awesome process. And you know, and this is such a great. I love the art in your book, and I want to get back into this. You know, I love the art in your book. I love the style you have, and you know, saying that. And I'm a fan of Harley Quinn. I'll tell you what. I really wish I never traded that. You know, Batman Adventures #12. You know, in the playground when I was little, because to get a copy now, you know, I'd have to sell one of my boys just to afford it. But great stories, and you know, this is just fantastic. Guys, again, we're at, actually, you've gone up a little bit.
Yeah,
We're at 750 backers.
Nice.
So,
and
guys,
by the way, I just want to say, you know, you're saying the art's very nice, but you know, credit where credit's due. That's David Hahn who's doing the penciling, and David has just got such a wonderful, clean. You know, even he says it's a very modern style.
It is.
And the thing I love about it is it's very open and simple, but he can go from, you know, kind of humorous moment, and then that simplicity can be really cold and heartless the next. I mean, so there can be an edge to his work as well as a warmth. And that's what I love about his work so much. And I've loved David's work almost from the time I first met him when he was doing a creator-owned book called Private Beach. And, you know, whenever I've had a chance, you know, I've you know, David has always been the first person I called, you know, are you available? Would you like to work on this? And so we're really hoping this can be, you know, we can do a few of these Impossible Jones, you know, at least a trilogy. And, you know, quite honestly, I've got stories that could last decades and decades with these characters.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny. You know, my first love, I would say, into anything was animation. You know, growing up, animation got me. And then, you know, obviously for my generation, you know, Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series brought me in and, you know, kind of really, really introduced me to the character of Batman that made me wanted to explore more of it. It gave me such a good feeling and that I loved. And I kid you not, as I was going through your Kickstarter, I was kind of getting that feeling. Like of something that's really grabbing me. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this art, you know, like I said, the artwork's great. What I've read so far and the sample pages is great. The design, everything is awesome. And I instantly went like, this could be a cartoon. Like this could be a cartoon. Like even like, I wouldn't say like a young kid's cartoon, but maybe like something geared a little more towards, you know, teens and adults and something like that. But like I could totally see this, and I would love to see it as like an animated, you know, series or something, you know. Which
we could do a movie like Into the Spider-Verse. That's what
exactly, something just like that, you know. So if you know anyone at Netflix or anything like that, maybe you know, strike a deal. But I tell you, like I got that same feeling. I was just so drawn to it and like almost like inspired. Like I know it's a graphic novel, but it inspired me to really kind of just gave me that that little bit, the goosebumps in the back of my neck when I think of everything that kind of inspired me. So I applaud you for that. That's the first time a crowdfunding campaign. No offense, Billy, you have a great one, had a great one out there too. But this one really just brought something for me. So I'm definitely gonna back this one because I have to read this graphic novel.
And it is beautiful. It really is. The art, the color palette, and again, it's ready-made for animation. How someone from Netflix or Adult Swim even or something, or Nickelodeon, not maybe the little one, whatever the older one is. I mean, man, your logo is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it's really,
that's JG Rochelle from Comic Craft did that logo.
It's unbelievable. Well done, sir. Well done. Now, could you? So for for the people watching, could you tell us about Impossible Jones?
Yeah. Hang on. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Impossible Jones is a thief, and she gets powers. And when she gets her powers, I should backtrack just a little. She's on a job with her gang, stealing something, and something goes horribly wrong. She wakes up. She's been left behind. She's been shot. There's a horrible accident, which should kill her, but it doesn't kill her, of course. It gives her powers. And when she gets powers and she realizes she has superpowers, the first thing she says is, I've got superpowers. Great. Now I can get payback on the sons of bitches who left me here for dead. And she goes after her old gang. But this is the thing. From the outside looking in, she's going after criminals. And so people start saying, you must be a superhero. And being a wanted criminal, she thinks, yeah, I'm a superhero. And she's just running this con job. She's running a con game with the other superheroes in the town she's operating out of, which there aren't many, but there's enough. And that's what that. But she, one of the things we say at the beginning of the video, you saw, you think crime doesn't pay. Try being a superhero. Like, they don't get paid. No one. So unfortunately, the only way she knows how to make money is stealing things. So she's not giving that up.
Yeah.
So,
now, is there like a hero that like a nemesis of her that is a hero that doesn't quite trust her, doesn't suspect something's off with her or anything?
Well, I do think there's the different heroes. There's not a lot. We tried to keep a very limited cast. It's in a fictional town called New Hope City, and there's 1, 2, 3. There's really only 4 other heroes running around town, and 2 of them I created in 2nd grade. So,
could you tell us about them, please?
Yeah, one is called Captain Lightning, who I created in 2nd grade, and he's pretty self-explanatory. But one of the things I've kind of grafted onto him for this story is another idea that I've long been interested in. He's a very political character. He will eventually, if we do stories, he will eventually run for mayor of the town.
Nice.
And because of that, though, a lot of the way he presents himself to the public, he makes very political decisions so that he doesn't tarnish his reputation, so that there's nothing that can be thrown back at him later on. And that also becomes a weakness of his, too. Because he starts suspecting that Impossible Jones isn't quite as heroic as she portrays herself, but he's already allied himself with her. So if it comes out that she's not good, it reflects badly on him.
Oh, excellent.
So he has to, unfortunately, in a way, he has to perpetuate her lies in order to protect his own political ambition.
Oh, great.
So there's that, and then there's another guy, the other guy I created in 2nd grade is named Polecat. And when I was in 2nd grade, I thought, he's a cat with a pole. That's perfect. And what I didn't realize at the time was, at least where I grew up, Polecat was also slang for skunk. So I've decided that this guy is a city boy, and he names himself Polecat because it's a cat with a pole. But he didn't realize the slang for skunk either, and now he's stuck with this name. And the thing is, he's very much a Daredevil-like character, and he is without a doubt the most altruistic character in the book. And he's, even Impossible Jones will find herself really liking him, not in a romantic way, just he's a good guy. I like being with this guy. And he becomes this annoyingly good influence on her. where she finds herself doing more good than she really wants to because she doesn't want to let Polecat down, her friend, really, her friend. So, these are the sort of dynamics we're playing with.
That is great. Again, that's this independent comics, that to have, again, a character that was a dream of yours as a child, 2 of them that you just created in 2nd grade, and now they're being published.
We hope they're going to be published.
They're really great characters, great well thought characters.
Yeah, no, I mean, David and I, and David brings a lot to the table too. He's got, some ideas that we would use in the 2nd arc for, sort of serial killer character that is very interesting. And David, has helped a lot with gelling just exactly who Impossible Jones is. I really enjoy working with David. He's easy to work with, yet if you cross certain lines, he'll say, I don't think that's a good idea. And, that's what you need. You need someone who's honest like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how did the character design change from 2nd grade to today?
Well, I mean, not to Impossible Jones. She was created more recently.
Well, I mean, for your 2 characters.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't really much for those characters. I gave David free reign, more or less. Mm-hmm. I worked Captain Lightning. When I was a kid, he was my guy. Captain Lightning. So I do have a certain proprietary feel for him. And I did work very hard trying to figure out some sort of symbol, a lightning symbol. And that, it's damn hard to come up with a new lightning symbol. There's just not, there's that way you draw a lightning bolt, and there's not a lot of other options, Mm-hmm. So we struggled with his look for a long time, but I think we came up with a good one. Yeah. And David took Polecat and just came up with a really great idea that I said, yeah, that's perfect. Let's go with it.
Yeah. Now, did David design the characters based off of written descriptions, or did you guys both physically work on the design of the characters?
I might have had some sort of physical description for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, with Impossible Jones, I had one small pencil sketch I had done in my notebook, and I sent that to David, and he reworked it heavily and improved it dramatically. The only thing that I think really remains is I did come up with the idea of kind of an exclamation mark as her symbol.
Yeah.
And, but besides that, David has gone. Almost everything else is David.
Oh, great! So now this is your 3rd or 4th Kickstarter.
Well, if it funds, it'll be my 3rd successful Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. I
did try to launch Impossible Jones last October as a 32-page comic book. And after a week, I just knew that we were never going to get enough money, because we are trying to raise enough money so that David and I can pay our bills while we work on these things. Mm-hmm. So unlike, even Ron Randall, who, is a good friend, Ron is really only looking for enough money to publish his book, to print his book and distribute it.
Yes.
We're looking for money to do that and to pay our bills, because the electric company, they need to be paid.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we're aiming a lot higher, and we're still inching our way towards our goal of 45,000. But I mean, that's what we need if we're going to pay our bills while we do this. That's really what it comes down to.
And plus, it's 132 pages.
It's going to be hardcover. It's oversized. It's bigger than a comic book. It's the size of like the Saga hardcovers, which are like 15% larger than a comic. It'll be hardcover. If we can raise a little extra money beyond the 45, we would have spot gloss, full color end sheets. I'd love to get a ribbon bookmark in there, just really class up the joint.
Oh, nice.
I can, my publishing model that I'm trying to do here is we do like a classic publishing model. We do the hardcover, and with Section 0 at least, then Images come along to put out the soft cover about a year later. Mm. And I would like to hope that we could continue doing that. That the Kickstarter pays the bills, and then any money we get off of Image, that's gravy. That's like now we can remodel the kitchen, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And you will. I mean, we've got 6 days left on it.
Yeah.
But and I see you're doing some interesting marketing things as well. Now, what about the retweets? You know, like you have something like when you hit 100 retweets, every backer will get an Impossible Jones sticker.
Right.
How'd you come up with that? And have you done that with the other levels or your past books? And is that successful? Because there's a part of me doing this show too, because I want to learn, and I'm looking for
Right. I understand. Sure. I mean, we all are learning from each other. I think that's one of the great things about crowdfunding is the rules aren't written yet, and we're all trying to figure them out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, quite honestly, the retweet thing. There's it just ended. There was a Kickstarter by Monty Nero, who I believe is out of England or Scotland, one of the Great Britain area things. And he was doing a book called Frenemies, and I noticed that he was giving rewards for the number of retweets he would get. And I was thinking, that's a really good way to get your information out to more and more and more people. Which, as we said earlier, that's an essential part of this game.
Yes.
You know. And so I just basically, grabbed that whole idea from Monty. And, he explained certain things about how he was doing it, about, I didn't know how to, like, pin my tweet to the top of my page and stuff like that. So, I'm pretty computer illiterate when it comes down to it. I only know the very basic things I need to know,
Yeah.
But no, I've never done the retweet thing before, but we did very well. We had a first image that was retweeted 100 times in one day.
Wow.
So that's great. Now the second, we tried it again with the second image, and we might have hit 100 now. We were at like 96 earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's retweet that out. If we can get the link and we could, throw that out there, that'd be great. Because what's cool is that you are putting the money. I know that you want to, like, we're doing this book so we can get, of course you can afford to put out this book, but you're putting a lot back into this book. I mean, you have it oversized. You're using, you want to get the full color. It's hardcover as opposed to just a soft cover. I mean, you are going that extra mile to do things for the cover, some cover effects that none of that comes cheap. Any of that stuff.
No, but I mean, that's, like I said, we're doing the collector's edition. We're aiming up here. And so, that's why we have 45,000 as our goal instead of 20 or 15, which is very common, as you probably know, for a lot of comics.
Yeah. Yep. And you've got some great pinups that are included by some huge names. I mean, right at the bat, you got Amanda Connor.
I know.
Shakin. Yep. You got Tom Grummett. I mean, you're really
all-star class of artists right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I call in a lot of favors. Pretty soon I'm going to run out of favors to call in.
Now, some of your rewards, you've got some other books that are part of those packages. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those rewards? Yeah,
there's 2 levels called From Zero to Impossible and then From Double Zero to Impossible. And basically the other books that I've kickstarted are called Section Zero, that is a book I've done with Tom Grummett. And the first book is out. And it's sitting in warehouse, a black box warehouse as we speak, being shipped out as we get orders. Mm-hmm. But the other book, Section 0, 1959, Tom and I are finishing right now. And people can, if they miss those campaigns and are interested in those books, and there seem to be a good number who are, they could get Impossible Jones and the earlier Section 0 books, and we would wait to ship them all at the same time because, as you know, shipping can kill you otherwise. But it is, the shipping they would pay for the 3 books is going to be less than if they paid for shipping 3 individual books. Mm-hmm. So you're a little more patient. You save a little money, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. But what could you tell us about that book? With
the Tom? Section 0 book?
Yep.
Yeah, Section 0 is basically Impossible Jones is my ideal superhero book, but Section 0 is my adventure book. It's basically, I describe it as Jack Kirby does the X-Files. So it's monsters and creepiness, and we've got the Loch Ness Monster, and we have the Sargasso Sea with the graveyard of lost ships, but then, like Jack Kirby, there's a lot more hitting and explosions. So it's not just people with flashlights in dimly lit places. So it's like X-Files, but with a lot more hitting and explosions. That's really
that's awesome. That's great. So now, what have you learned from your crowdfunding experience? So you have a couple of noobs, coming up. Hey, I want to do crowdfunding, this and that. What can you tell me? What's the best advice? Besides, we already touched base on shipping. Shipping, I think, is universal, but beyond the shipping part, what would be your best advice to someone launching their first crowdfunding campaign?
What is the best advice? Well, I guess it comes down to, you got to have the crowd in crowdfunding. So I think you've got to develop a social media presence. And I've got a pretty poor one compared to like Gail Simone. But I worked for a number of years very specifically trying to get followers, mostly on Facebook. I'm not very attracted to Twitter, for better or worse. I guess that's where the kids like to go. But I like that you can get into a little more in-depth on Facebook, and I can post reviews of movies or TV shows and really kind of express my thoughts. But anyways, I worked for a long time to get 3, 4, 5,000 followers on Facebook. And I've got like maybe 1,000 on Twitter. But you need the social network. You need the crowd in order to crowd. That's really, I think, rule 1 is right there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the crowd, you can have the best idea in the world. And if people aren't coming to it, it doesn't matter how good the idea is.
Yeah. Now I've seen you've done some really cool kind of marketing. Now I have to ask. I've seen posters of Impossible Jones in many places. And are they if it's Photoshop, it's wonderful quality.
I know, thanks.
It's even with just the wrinkles and the creases and stuff on the posters. I mean, it's fun. It's cool marketing stuff. I think that's something with crowdfunding that I do think some people lack on, is just kind of fun marketing.
Yeah. Well,
what made you think of that?
I just have to say thank you for noticing those, because I put those up and I have no idea if anyone's really noticing. But when I did my first Section 0 Kickstarter, I ran across what are called mock-ups, right? And you guys probably know what mock-ups are, right?
Yeah.
They're these templates you can get, and quite honestly, they're for free if you look in the right places. And you can get and you can get mock-ups of books. And all you have to do is take your graphic of the book cover, and it gets slapped on here in such a way that there's the lighting and shading that makes it look like it's a real book, Yeah. And so that's how you can have a real book without really having a real book. And when I stumbled across mock-ups, it was like a light bulb went on over my head, and I said, these things are phenomenal. And they look so, to my eye at least, they look really realistic. And so I started poking around, and there's mock-ups for everything. You can get mock-ups for coffee cups. You can get mock-ups for dog food bags. You can get mock-ups for anything. And you can get mock-ups for posters on the street. And all you have to do is put your image in there, and the lighting and the folds and the shadows, they're on the smart layers of the Photoshop file. And you can post them on Facebook.
That's just incredible.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm going to steal that idea if you don't mind, sir.
No, it's, I've had a lot of fun. It's worked really well for Impossible Jones because, I have to admit, I'll open up, I've got a couple hundred of these files. I did pay some money for these because I love them so much. Yeah, there's one.
Yeah.
And that is so great.
And, I look pretty close at some of these because, sometimes there's words and I can tell, this was from Berlin. I looked really close and I could see that it was from Berlin. So I said, this is Berlin,
That's cool. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, at first, and I'm like looking, right? And, I know Photoshop and all that stuff. And I'm like looking, I'm like, that's some hell of a good Photoshop. And then I was like, and then for a second, like I leaned in and I was like, I think that's not real. No, is it? I'm going to ask him tonight if that's real.
I'm
that's
glad
great.
you just stop and look. That's the whole point. That's
It
the whole
did.
Point, So, and it works really well for this particular book because I can say, seen in Berlin? Impossible.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
That's great. So now, what would be the biggest mistake you've encountered in your crowdfunding experience?
Oh, well, number one, postage. I vastly underrated postage the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it, I lost a lot of money on the first Kickstarter because of that. So I've learned my lesson about postage. In fact, quite honestly, this Impossible Jones, postage will not be charged until when we send out the surveys.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will know exactly how much the book weighs, and we will know how much the postage costs, and that's what we will charge people. Instead of me going, I think it's going to cost $10, and then finding out it's 12, or saying I think it's going to cost 10, and it turns out to be 8. And yeah, I'm putting $2 in my pocket, but wouldn't it be better if I could save the backer $2? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And especially, as you know, foreign postage, that can get to be like $40 for a hardcover book that I'm selling for $25.
Yes.
And anyways, so postage is a huge thing that I made a huge mistake on.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic that you're actually sharing that with your backers. You're letting them know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've never heard anyone doing that,
Yeah.
and that's brilliant, and it's fair, which is nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I didn't come up with this idea myself. The first time I saw a comics person do this was Graham Nolan for his Monster Island.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't charge postage until after the campaign was over, and at first I thought, this is crazy. And then I started thinking, but he doesn't have to guess how much his postage is going to cost and add that into his goal. If I had to add in postage, I would be looking at $65,000.
Yeah.
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 Now,
what are your thoughts? I've heard people, they've brought this up is, well, why don't you partner with a printer or distributor, someone that can, distribute your books in Europe, and try to ease cost. Is that something, have you ever considered, thought of, have you even ever heard that suggestion?
Well, no one has suggested that to me. And I think, I don't know how practical that is. We were approached by a Spanish publisher to put out Section 0, and in fact, next week I fly to Spain for a convention in Spain where the Section 0 Spanish edition will debut.
Awesome!
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that, and I've seen a lot of the proof pages, and they are almost freakishly making it look like the American edition, like the edition we put out. They're following our design layout and our fonts, and it looks exactly like our book, except in Spanish. I'm very pleased, quite honestly.
Oh, that's very cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm having enough trouble just getting the books out here right now. Every so often, I do think, wow, it'd be really great if there was, well, we use BackerKit to distribute our books, and I guess they have some warehouses in Canada, they have warehouses in Britain, and if we had enough backers in those places, they could ship a bunch of books, and that would save, because it would just be this one large crate, and that would save a lot, and then shipping from Canada to Canada would be a lot less.
Yeah.
But at this point, we do not have enough backers to make that viable.
Okay.
Could you explain BackerKit to our viewers out there?
Well, you mean if I said BackerKit, I'm sorry. We're using Blackbox for our fulfillment.
Okay, or Blackbox.
Yeah, and Blackbox is a fulfillment service, and what they do is you supply them with the addresses and the reward levels of people, and they put together the boxes. Everything is shipped to a warehouse. They have people in the warehouse that put the boxes together so that everyone gets the right thing, and they mail it out. And quite honestly, because of the volume that they do, they can send out a bunch of boxes for much less than I could if I was doing it out of my house. Mm-hmm. I have found it to be well worth the money. And then they also store your stuff. They give you, I forget how many cubic feet you get for $20 a month, but for the amount of stuff I have shipped or have stored there, it's very affordable. So yeah, I pay them $20 a month to store my stuff, and they handle all the shipping from the Kickstarter. And now the book is also, I have a website where we sell a couple copies a week, and I can just send them the orders, and they send those out too. And I've enjoyed working with Blackbox very much.
That is a great idea.
That is a great idea. And you said that, so where can your books be purchased? You said you had a website.
Yeah, we have a website. It's my vast publishing empire is called Panic Button Press, and if you go to panicbuttonpress.com, that's it right there. And there is a place that it says swag up there, and if you press the swag, it takes you to Section 0 swag right there. And see, it says here I've included shipping prices on all of mine, so you have to make sure you know that, and then you can go show me the swag. So, but we got the Section Zero stuff is all there for pre-order, or the ones the first volume is available now.
Wow, it looks great. Your website looks incredible.
Yeah, your website does look great.
It really does.
It's Squarespace. I'm just following their templates. But they have got a lot of cool templates.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see? Now, I just have a question because it's interesting. You bring up, so we've done quite a few shows now, and a topic of interest has come up on digital comics. And a lot of guys and gals, say, I'd rather just hold a physical book. Now, you sell digital, so just out of curiosity, I mean, do you see what versus a hard copy to digital? I mean, what are you seeing as far as a trend?
Well, I mean, I can say that on my 2 Section Zeros, and it's still holding true for Impossible Jones, 1/3 of my backers get the digital package, and two-thirds get the printed book. That has been amazingly consistent across the board.
Yeah. Do you find that they're international? Many digital are international?
Oh, yeah, because they can't afford the shipping. The shipping kills them. There's so many, I wouldn't say so many, but there have been many times someone in Australia has said, I would love, love, love to get the physical book, but to ship it to Australia, like I said, it's going to cost them $40.
Yeah, that's crazy.
all of a sudden, this $25 book is $65,
Yeah.
That's
so
he gets idea. I never thought of that, and I wonder if you could do, I guess you can't. If you're going to offer it to everyone, you should. But think about it. If it does cost so much money for the international shipping, that's a terrific idea. It's just to have a digital. I mean, you can't just offer it to them exclusively, but that's a great argument for having digital, because a lot of people have been saying they don't want to do digital because they want people to have a physical copy of the book. But what if you're just a regular working Joe or ordinary guy or gal, and you really want this book and you live in the Netherlands? You can't get it.
Exactly.
Or you can afford it, but for I don't know, €8, €10, whatever their price should be, they can get it and they can have it on their thing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, and that's where I think the argument holds that as much as most people, these crowdfunding fans are backing these projects, there is definitely an argument for digital. And I think that helps allow everyone to get a piece of it. So we've gone into the crowdfunding process, this and that. I mean, Billy, let's have a little fun here. Let's talk some fun questions. Let's really embarrass Karl.
No more embarrassing.
Now I'm glad I came on.
Yeah. No, so Karl, I mean, it seems like you have just done almost absolutely everything in the industry. Has there been someone you haven't worked with yet, or something you haven't done yet in the comic book industry that is definitely on your bucket list to get done?
Well, there probably is. I mean, but I mean, I have to say, in 30 years, I've played in a lot of sandboxes, so I've had a lot of fun. I mean, I always wanted to do an ongoing Challengers of the Unknown series, which never happened. And I got to work on those characters in Superboy. I did some short stories with them. But yeah, I mean, DC, and probably wisely, has never thought that there's a big market for Challengers of the Unknown. And I think think Challengers of the Unknown is something that would make a great movie. Probably it works better as a movie or TV series than it does as a comic book, personally. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so Challengers has always been a project that I wish I could work on and that I never really got into. And quite honestly, the same with Fantastic Four. I mean, I inked 2 big runs and I've done fill-ins here and there, but I've never got a chance to really do a run myself as a writer. But I will say, right now I'm much more excited and much more interested in keeping playing in my own sandbox for a while.
Absolutely.
And do Impossible Jones and do Section Zero. And I've got quite honestly, I've already talked to another artist about an idea called Saint Mayhem, which I'd love to get out there at some point.
Oh,
so
very cool.
Those 3 things, if I could actually juggle those 3 things, that's all the time I've got right there.
Yeah. There you
Yep.
go. And then Mitchell Coleman asks, and I think this is a good question. Let's see. So, quick question for Karl. What made you want to do crowdfunding comics? I'm assuming he means our show here. What made you want to come on to crowdfunding comics?
No, it's not. That can't be our show.
It has to be. It's highlighted.
It must be. It must be. Yeah, it must be. Why did I want to come on here? Well, because you guys are very entertaining hosts. I've seen your shows before.
We
They're very
begged and pleaded.
We did. We came like we made Karl feel bad. Like,
Yeah.
please, we love you.
No.
We love your work. You got to come on our show.
No, it was not a hard choice for me. I have seen your shows before. They're very fun.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that. Well, okay. So we've had him. We're going on an hour and 15 minutes. And he's talking about putting the kids to sleep and all. And again, we've talked. And my wife comes up, and my wife's like, when we go on, Karl, we go up against a lot of other YouTube shows that are happening right now. So
Right.
you can Ethan Van Sciver's Comic Artist Pro Secrets, which is a monster. He's got 127,000 subscribers, and
Oh God!
yeah, he'll get 27. He'll get 25,000 people watching at a point,
Yeah.
and rightly so, and he deserves it. And the same thing, you'll see Dan Panosian and Dave Johnson have their drink and draw, and other people go on that Umbrella Guy. A couple of guys have their own shows, so a lot of people end up coming to our show afterwards. We see we have a lot of people watching it the next day or later on. So
Right.
you guys got to cut these shows down because nobody wants to sit and watch, me and Nile just, goof off and harass our guests for 2 hours. So if it's okay, we'd like to have fun with you now, and let's check it out. Of course, we've talked about the project, we've talked about everything, but maybe we can ask you some fun questions. It's something that we like to do. And, Nile, do you want to go with the...
We've already been going, brother.
Well, yeah.
And I'm having fun because I didn't cut you off. This is great.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask you. So we've gone into some stuff, and we've talked about a few things outside of the crowdfunding and stuff that maybe some bucket list items that he wanted to get done. But I mean, so besides doing comic stuff like that, I mean, we saw your daughters there in the video. I mean, have they taken on to comics? Are you seeing little creators blossoming right in front of your eyes?
Well, I mean, they my son specifically does like to draw comics in particular. He hasn't figured out sequential storytelling yet. He'll draw one picture where many things are happening. And but he's on the right track. He's on the right track. But I will tell you a funny story. I like this story. When we were first starting to, we wanted to bring Section Zero back as a Kickstarter. Section Zero originally was published in 2000. We got 3 issues out through Image, and so I pulled out those old Image comics to just refresh myself and think through where we were going with the story and stuff. And Isaac, my son, was very interested in them because these are Dad's comics. And we were driving in the car a few years ago. This is before he could read, and he's flipping through Section Zero, flipping through, and all of a sudden I'm driving and I hear him go, Dad, who is this? Who is this character? And I'm thinking, oh, a character in Section Zero has connected with my son, and he wants to know more about him. And this was like a real moment of pride for me. And I said, so I'm driving. I go, hold it up. I'll look in the mirror and I'll tell you who it is. And he holds it up, and it was a house ad for Savage Dragon. So he put me in my place pretty quickly.
Oh, jeez.
With a giant fin on his head. Why don't you draw someone with a giant fin on its head?
I know. I need more fins on my characters' heads.
Yeah.
So.
So TJ James is kind of curious to see what kind of convention going. He's asking if you're going to be at Baltimore this year or Terrificon. Are you planning on any? I know you said you're going to Spain, but anything else planned?
No, after Spain, the next one will be Rose City Comic Con here in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
I got 2 kids at home, 2 small kids, 5 and 7, and leaving my wife alone with them, it becomes cruel and inhuman after a while. She needs some help, and I don't blame her. She was just gone for most of last week, and I was solo parenting, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
I agree.
So, so this year, I did do Heroes, But right now, until the kids get a little older, probably I'll do one East Coast convention a year.
Yeah.
I'm looking for maybe Midwest conventions. I was in Minneapolis earlier this year, and I know next year I believe I'll be at Planet Con in Kansas City.
That's a great convention.
I hear it is. That's
It's
why
great.
I'm looking into going.
I did it one time, and I'm holding, my breath to be asked back by Chris Johnson again because I had so much fun in Kansas City. What a city! With the barbecue and the people.
Yeah.
People in the Midwest are just so nice. And they ask if can I get you a water? These are fans.
Yeah,
you need anything? You want a cup of coffee? Stuff like that. It was really
A roofie
No, I'm
colada.
looking forward to- so I mean, as the kids get older, our plans would be probably actually to do more shows and bring the kids with us.
Mhm.
But right now, I'm looking to do 4, maybe 5 shows a year, and expand from there, maybe up to 6 or 7. I don't know if I could do more than that, because once you start doing like a show a month, that becomes like a full-time job.
yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Billy
I
has
know-
been telling me all about that.
Yeah, Carl, I did, and when you book these shows, the promoters will come up to you, a year ago, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Sure, that sounds fun." And I mean, I always do Heroes. I just love that con. I love Heroes. I love Baltimore. I love the Terrific Con. I love real comic cons.
Yeah.
I'm doing one this weekend in New Jersey, the Garden State Comic Fest. And it's a real comic book convention, and I just love them. The thing is though, I've just done this weekend when I go to Garden State will be my 6th convention in 7 weeks.
Oh,
Oof.
I don't know how you get
No.
anything done. I don't know how you get anything done.
No, but you have to. That's why I'm coming to you from the art table. I usually have.
Oh,
over
yeah.
there.
Well, I saw like you just like erased a page or something.
Yeah.
And you shook off the, yeah.
I'm doing this one with my Beryl Prismacolors. It's a cover I'm working on. So
Okay.
it's
We're not sponsored.
This black pencil just melts on the page and can look like inks because I'm doing a lot of shading and all. But it just makes a mess. I've got to scrub it and clean it and everything like that. So I'll be doing this for the next 3 hours, I'm sure, to finish this for tomorrow because it's San Diego prep. Getting our Zombie Sama, our Kickstarter and Indiegogo Zombie Sama done. And then going forth with San Diego, and then the new She-Book that will launch in August, The Return of the Warrior. So, what are you going to do? But it's exciting because, like you said, there's nothing more satisfying than your own creator-owned project.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so great to work on these characters you love. I love Sergeant Rock, and I got to work on that. And to do work for DC, do Batman or Harley myself, I got to do with Jimmy and Amanda. But there's nothing like your own books, your own creation. Someone comes up to you and asks you to sign it, or someone takes money out of their own pocket for your own creator-owned book. And I find that that's really enthusiastic. That's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
So you do what you got to do.
Now, have you ever looked into Indiegogo or ever doing anything on that? It's a slightly different platform, a lot of similarities.
I kind of looked at it, but not deeply. I haven't looked deeply at it. So, it's not something I know a lot of the ins and outs of.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, or I don't want to say a lot, but I know of a number of people who ran a Kickstarter campaign and then moved it over to Indiegogo after they were done to use Indiegogo more as a storefront. I've seen that happen.
Well, I did that, and because I was new at this myself a few months ago, and we did this more money in 2 weeks on Indiegogo after our 28-day campaign. And then it was all said and done, we did another $10,000 over or more than we did with our Kickstarter campaign. Our Indiegogo, even though it was our second campaign, raised more money than our original Kickstarter campaign. Even though the Kickstarter campaign had a lot of the big ticket items, if you will, original art, be in the book it yourself. We had that one of the levels was you're drawn in the comic.
Right.
And the Indiegogo fans were just amazing because we found that there are people that will just buy from Kickstarter, and there are people that will just buy from Indiegogo. I mean, some people.
I've heard that on your show before, and that's like I'm shaking my head over that. But yeah, I guess it's a thing.
It's like are you a Marvel guy, DC guy, you Ford, you Chevy? I mean, there's just you build that loyalty,
Yeah. And it is a business, though. Remember, I mean, their businesses. Indiegogo's a business. Kickstarter's a business. We have to have that mentality that we're a business as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, a good question just popped up from Christina Lynn. Karl, is it easy or hard for you to write female main characters?
It's as easy and as hard as writing other characters, I think. I mean, if you can hear them in your head, it's easy, and if you can't hear them in your head, it's hard. That's what it comes down to. I will tell you, the easiest writing assignments I have ever had is writing licensed characters. When I did X-Files and when I did Battlestar Galactica, that was like just writing. That was so simple because those voices are so clear in your head. You know exactly how they're going to talk. That's when it's easy when you hear the voices in your head. And
I think, and I agree. I think that's the inspiration talking. Your adrenaline's going, your ideas are there, and it just kind of flows. Great answer.
I mean, it's like I have to say, it's like inking because when I look at a panel as an inker, if I can see it in ink in my head, it's an easy image to ink. And if I look at it and I go, I don't know how that's going to look in ink, then it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Now, in a way, it's a kind of Zen thing, but it's true. It's true.
We have another good question, but before that, just and on that whole method for inking, something's easy, something's hard. If you get a piece that you're like, I don't know how that's gonna look, do you like make a copy of it? And it's like, all right, let me try it on this first and see if that works, or do you just go right into it?
I mean, I just jump into it. Generally speaking, I mean, nowadays, if I do screw it up, it's been many years since I really inked on someone's pencil. So if I do screw it up, I just print out a new blue line.
Yeah.
And there have been a few times, not many, but there's a few times I've done that.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the old days, just kind of jumped into it. Yeah.
What's that, Billy?
Oh, so you get the blue lines. You don't work over the penciler's art directly because I guess they send it to you digitally, right? And then you can put that to a blue line?
Yeah, since the 21st century began, I can probably count the number of pages I've inked on pencils on one hand, maybe two hands. I've inked so few people's real pencils in the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Now then your pencilers then can sell those pages too.
Yeah, and I get all the inks. So.
You get all the inks. Yeah.
But I mean, there is still the feel that the pencils are the real art. And I'm not going to argue against that, but I will point out that the inks are what the comics are printed from.
Yes. So, guys, if anyone has any questions for Karl, please start, ask them now. We'll go through a few of them, and then we're going to get into our crowdfunding call-out, which was recommended and brought to us by Karl. So we got another great question. Mitchell Coleman. So what has been the most challenging thing in the industry for you, Karl?
In the whole industry, in my whole career?
In your entire career.
Wow.
And make it quick.
The most challenging thing. The most challenging thing is when the phone doesn't ring. When you're looking for work and there is no work. That is really stressful. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that is the hardest part of this job, and it does happen. Even it happens to all of us. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. TJ James asks, Karl, serious question, Betty or Veronica?
I believe I was just asked this question on another interview very recently, and it's Betty. It's Betty.
Ah.
There you have it.
I like Veronica.
I like Veronica too.
I understand.
I know.
But to me the better question. I don't want to say the better question, but the question I have more trouble with is Dragon Lady or Burma. That's my heart.
Well done. Well done. I don't know. The Dragon Lady had some great.
I was just gonna say Dragon Lady.
It's just on the way she was drawn. I'd say Dragon Lady.
I don't know. I'm a big Burma fan. I'd probably go Burma. So.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so it doesn't seem like we have too many more questions coming through. So, guys, we'll get into it. We have crowdfunding call out tonight, brought to us by Karl, and this is Glow 1 through 3. Karl, I'd love for you to just give us before I play the video, just kind of a brief introduction of this project.
Well, Glow is put together by some people who excuse me, my throat. Glow is put together by a couple of writers who have done another wonderful book called Skies of Fire. And Glow is, as I understand it, I have not read it, but I've backed the project. It's a world that is it's kind of an apocalyptic world, but there is magic involved, and there's some sort of quest going on. But these guys are wonderful at world building, and they work with some beautiful, fantastic artists. And I mean, if we were going to watch this video, I mean, you're just going to be in awe of what you see. They really know what they're doing here, and I really couldn't recommend any project that they put together highly enough. It's sure to be quality, it's sure to be enjoyable, and it's sure to be memorable.
Awesome. So guys, we're going to get into this. I'm going to play the video for Glow.
Hi, my name is Vince.
And I'm Ray.
And welcome to the world of Glow. Glow follows the story of two siblings, Kazi and Koken, as they venture out in the wastelands to find old technology in order to survive in this post-apocalyptic world.
Issue number 3 picks off a couple of days after issue number 2 with a ominous looming white light over the town of Shaddai and its residents beginning to evacuate in panic.
In this issue, we finally get a chance to see one of my favorite characters, Morik Stonehand. Using a stone hand to control a magical golem, Morik leads the Stonehand clan to the gates of Shaddai, ready for battle.
Issue number 3 is all about grief and dealing with it. It's also about impermanence, the idea that even though you have a home, things could change at any moment. The idea that a life can go in a single instant, and what we do to cope with that.
For Glow, we have an amazing language designed by a linguist named Colm Doyle. We wanted something that not only fits our world, but also is part of it. Through magic, inscriptions, graffiti, we hope to create a world that is actually lived in and alive. Team Glow is made up of a group of people from different walks of life and who live all over the world.
The workflow in Glow is really unique, so we really tried to establish a studio system with the project. We have 2 different artists, one in the States over here and one in Indonesia on lines, and we also have a colorist who's much more than that. He and his team are painters, so they're responsible for so much of the background detail that you see, and responsible for so much of the look and feel of the project. We spent ages developing Glow in terms of the look and the feel and the color palette, and we really wanted to create something that a lot of people would fall in love with.
Thanks again for watching this video. If you like what you see, please check out our rewards below and share this video with your friends. Till next time, see you in the world of Glow.
Wow,
That is beautiful.
is beautiful. I mean, they have their teams from all over the world. I mean, their character designs, I mean, backdrops, everything. I mean, this is another, you definitely hit the nail on the head here, Carl, with this one.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and I'm sure it'll read great too. I've read their Skies of Fire book, and it's just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, that they're where they're going, leave us all in the dust. And I agree. My gosh,
Yeah, they had a language created, an actual language.
No,
was created for this world they built. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, good for them. But right now, let's talk Impossible Jones. No, that's great. No, it is great. But
very cool. Very cool. So hey, Carl, it has been. What's that?
How long do they have left?
quite a while. They launched very recently.
They have 20 days. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Well, Impossible Jones has 6.
Yeah, Impossible Jones has 6 days. Glow.
20.
1 through 3. They have 20 days. They are funded. So. fund Impossible Jones.
Yeah, Possible Jones, we can use ya.
There we go. So we've got oh, there we go. Oh, you're almost to 34,000.
Almost.
Yep,
11,000.
So the show, thank you guys. I believe 10 or 11 new backers tonight since Carl's been on with us. So thank you
so
again.
much.
And
Thank you, everyone.
And if you guys can, please make sure to share Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Help share Carl's project and get to the masses. And again, Carl, it's been so awesome having you on the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
It's been great.
It has been a phenomenal evening, and I didn't realize it, and I thought it would be impossible, but we got through an hour and a half.
We're sorry.
You see what I did there? You see what I did there?
Yes, we did.
Very good.
Nile. Well, sir, this has been a true privilege. I'm looking forward to pledging as well. And, just thank you so much for coming on with us. You're fantastic. Again, I hope we didn't scare you by, contacting you out of the blue saying, oh, we've got a YouTube show. Please come on.
No, I'm glad you did. Like I said, I've seen your show before, so I was thrilled to be asked.
Well, you're fantastic. And we hope you'd come back on again with us for the next one. And just thank you. And everybody out there, please, if you can, share this. If you can pledge, all the better. If you can't pledge, I understand, Howard. Just share it, retweet it, please. Get the word out there, especially for our professionals who are doing this. I mean, this is a huge task. It's 132 pages. It's a prestige format book, and it's really worth your money. You're really going to get your dollar's worth for sure.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Again, tomorrow night, guys, we have Macho Dan and Muttman on for their book, Hyro. So please join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. as we welcome another pair of great indie creators. So Carl, Billy, it's been wonderful. I've had a blast with you guys tonight. I'm so looking forward to having everyone join us tomorrow night. Carl, if you don't mind just hanging on as we plug out here, and we'll chat a little bit with you after the show. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great night.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And we will see you.
Everyone. Thank you, Carl. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram, Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.